started wondering about neuroscience because logically, I would think the psychopath lacks the proper amount of hormones such as oxytocin, which could be their cause for that lack of empathy and inability to bond with people. But actually, the studies I've found sort of said the opposite. Either they did have a low amount of oxytocin, but they weren't completely devoid of it. Or what they found in some studies was actually a increased level of it, but because of an overproduction. So in normal people, the oxytocin is like a switch, like an on-off switch. So it releases it and signals, like social interactions are safe and, you're going to bond with someone. It gives you that feeling of closeness. But in the psychopath study, the high levels of oxytocin were actually impairments because their brain was switched on all the time for the oxytocin. And that actually, that flooding of the oxytocin was what caused more aggression. And it also causes them to be hypersexual. And I'm going to read this if I can without being just completely disgusted. Ugh. Those with psychopathy tend to be hypersexual and are very promiscuous. They have a low emotional attachment if they don't bond. And their preference is casual sexual encounters. So they will have risky sexual behavior and a higher number of partners cheating. So this is how they can cheat on you, not feel bad about it, have no remorse. And if you're crying and confused and upset and emotional, well, they don't really care about that either. And likely, they're just going to disappear until you stop acting that way. Psychopaths, in addition to their higher number of partners, have unprotected sex, which could lead them to sexually transmitted diseases. They also have an early onset of sexual activity, like around age 11 or 12. And they use sex as a means to secure power and control, or just stimulation. Disgusting. I'm really going to be just disgusted when I read this. Because it just reminds me of my ex and all the people that I confirmed that he had cheated with. And I know there were plenty that I didn't find out about, so it's just, ugh. So their motivation is that sex is often used for their ego boost, because they have low self-esteem. They're also bored easily, so it's to alleviate their boredom. Or as a tool for manipulation, not for emotional connection. Research indicates a strong connection between psychopathy and their preference for uncommitted sexual activity. Another reason why they can easily cheat on you. Also, they lack impulse control. So they're not able to control their impulses or say no. That compulsion and excitement seeking causes them to hook up with whoever will let them. Reckless impulse. And the research also shows that psychopaths engage in more frequent sexual activity linked with reckless, impulsive, and sometimes devious or sadistic behaviors. Hypersexuality is basically a high sex drive, and they're disinhibited and impersonal. So it is not about bonding, it's not about connection, it is not about anything the same as a healthy person would. There are other primary hormones, which are serotonin and dopamine. Their serotonin tends to be lower, which can cause depression and sometimes anxiety. And they have amplified dopamine release. That's not just during the reward, but during the anticipation of it. So, sneaking around, texting from the bathroom, setting up their hookup, and then lying to your face and telling you, oh, I'll be back. I just got to go do something, real vague. What they're going to do is cheat on you. And they get dopamine released all throughout that process. So, as they're driving to go cheat on you, dopamine. When they're actually having sex, dopamine. And even when they're on the way back home to lie to your face, and if you believe them, dopamine. Yeah. So they're highly disgusting individuals. And I mean, that's just one aspect of their horrible personality, in addition to their callousness, their selfishness, and their high level of narcissism. They're not anyone you want to even be talking to, let alone in a relationship with.